Welcome back to CIA Declassified. We're deep in the 1960s and 70s. The air in Washington and Langley is thick with the smoke of filtered cigarettes and the tension of a world divided by a curtain of iron. Intelligence isn't just gathered from signals or satellites yet, it is harvested from the minds of men who have decided to betray their motherland. But when a Soviet colonel or a KGB officer walks across that line, they don't just bring microfilm, they bring a lifetime of needs, a family in danger, and a target on their back that never fades. The agency needed a formal mechanism to handle the human asset life cycle. They needed a way to turn a traitor into a citizen while keeping their secrets and their pulse intact. Today, we examined the logistics of the high-level defector. This was AECHAMP. How did this designation get its name? The designation AECHAMP follows the agency's standard cryptonym system. The prefix AE was the specific diagraph assigned to operations involving the Soviet Union. The second half, CHAMP, was selected to reflect the status of the assets being handled. These weren't low-level informants, they were the champions of the intelligence hall, the elite defectors whose information was deemed of such championship caliber that they required a unique high-budget tier of support and protection that exceeded standard resettlement protocols. AECHAMP wasn't just a paycheck, it was a total reconstruction of a human life. The AECHAMP program was overseen by the Office of Security and the Soviet Bloc Division, ensuring that the transition from Soviet official to American civilian was seamless and secure. A quote from a declassified 1968 internal review. The maintenance of the defectors' morale is as critical as the initial debriefing. A disgruntled asset is a security liability of the highest order. End quote. Records indicate that the agency purchased suburban homes in Northern Virginia under shell corporations to house AECHAMP assets during their initial years of atmospheric adjustment. Documentation confirms the use of plastic surgery subsidies where high-level defectors were given facial reconstructions to ensure they could never be recognized by KGB wet affairs teams in public. A quote from the Director of Central Intelligence: "We provide more than safety. We provide a future that the Soviet system is incapable of imagining." End quote. AECHAMP protocols included stipend escalation, where payments were increased based on the ongoing utility of the information provided during multi-year debriefing sessions. The agency created legend portfolios, providing defectors with entire backstories, including fake university diplomas and employment records, to facilitate their entry into the American workforce. Logs show that AECHAMP funds were used to hire private tutors for the children of defectors to ensure they assimilated quickly into American schools without revealing their origins. Technical memos detail the use of audio masking devices in AECHAMP safe houses to prevent Soviet broom microphones from picking up domestic conversations from the street. The agency maintained a defector-only dental clinic to ensure that Soviet-style dental work, often containing distinctive metals, would not give away an asset's origin during a routine checkup. Internal ledgers show that the CIA paid for cultural immersion coaches who taught defectors how to grocery shop and use American appliances without appearing suspicious. A quote from a declassified 1974 budget hearing: "The cost of one AECHAMP asset is equivalent to the maintenance of an entire field station, but the intelligence yield is incomparable." End quote. The program established a secret pension trust in Switzerland to ensure defectors had financial independence if they outlived their usefulness to the agency. Documents show that the CIA operated a defector social club in an undisclosed location to allow isolated assets to speak Russian with one another under heavy surveillance. Records confirm that AECHAMP assets were given threat-level briefings every morning detailing the movement of known Soviet assassins in the United States. The agency utilized psychological stress evaluators to monitor the mental health of AECHAMP families, as the suicide rate among high-level defectors was statistically higher than the national average. A quote from a 1971 declassified field surveillance log. Subject shows signs of extreme paranoia regarding the local milkman. Check milkman's credentials immediately. Internal memos confirm that AECHAMP defectors were prohibited from visiting any city with a Soviet consulate for the first 5 years of their residency. The agency developed a rapid exfiltration protocol for AECHAMP assets, keeping a fueled aircraft on 24-hour standby for the first 6 months of their arrival. Logs indicate that the CIA provided wardrobe grants to ensure defectors dressed in a manner that was consistent with their fabricated American backstories. Technical files reveal that AECHAMP safe houses were equipped with reverse intercoms that allowed the agency to listen into the house at any time for signs of distress or betrayal. A quote from a declassified psychological profile on a redacted person: "The subject misses the bread of Moscow, but fears the windows of Washington." End quote. The program included a death benefit guarantee, ensuring the family of a defector would be cared for if the asset was successfully assassinated by the KGB. Documents prove that the agency staged fake burials in Europe to convince Soviet intelligence that a defector had died during the escape. Records show that the CIA used AECHAMP funds to purchase a small private island for the most high-risk debriefings, away from any potential electronic eavesdropping. The agency hired accent reduction specialists to help Soviet defectors blend into local communities by adopting regional American dialects. Records confirm that all mail sent to AECHAMP households was rerouted through a CIA sorting facility to check for letter bombs or poison-laced paper. A quote from a declassified 1965 security directive: "The asset must never feel like a prisoner, yet he must never be truly free." End quote. The agency provided defectors with emergency signal devices hidden inside everyday items like lighters or watches to call for immediate tactical support. Technical memos detail the use of subliminal Americanization films shown to defectors during their initial isolation period to speed up their ideological shift. If you look at the declassified AECHAMP folders, the heaviest redactions, the thickest, most impenetrable black ink, occur in the section titled Subcategory Final Asset Liquidation and Trace Removal. Actually, this specific file contains the most redactions in the entire series of declassified files regarding this operation, suggesting the end game is the most protected secret of all. Now, if you wander into the deeper corners of the internet where people dissect these black lines, you'll hear a theory that sounds like science fiction, but they swear it's the truth hidden by that ink. They speculate the agency didn't just let people retire. They suggest the use of experimental pharmacology, specifically BZ or other amnesiac agents, to wipe the memories of assets who became erratic. The theory posits that the redactions hide a list of ghost citizens who are currently living in state-run facilities with no memory of their Soviet past. Some amateur sleuths have a different take, focusing on the money. This conspiracy theory suggests that AECHAMP was actually a massive money laundering front. They argue that the redactions in the financial disposition files cover the fact that the pensions were actually being funneled into private black budget accounts used to fund illegal wars, and that the defectors themselves were merely the window dressing for a multi-billion-dollar slush fund. There is an even darker strain of speculation that surfaces in more paranoid forums. This theory claims that the agency wasn't just resettling defectors, but was matching them to create a new generation of perfect spies. They speculate that the redacted disposition files actually track the children of these assets, bilingual, culturally fluid individuals who were preconditioned from birth to be sent back as the ultimate deep cover sleepers. Was the AECHAMP policy a success? Tactically, it was a strategic victory. It ensured that some of the most critical secrets of the Soviet military remained in American hands for decades. Strategically, it was a moral gray zone. The cost of buying loyalty created a transactional culture within intelligence. The program was a success because it prevented defector remorse, a phenomenon that had plagued earlier, less funded efforts. It successfully provided a human buffer between the asset and the KGB. The project successfully created the gold standard for how Western nations handle high-level defectors today. It proved that the agency could not only keep a secret, but keep a person. The success of AECHAMP is measured in the silence of the Soviet response. For every asset successfully hidden, 1,000 Soviet man-hours were wasted searching for a ghost. It fundamentally shifted the balance of power by making the Soviet elite feel that their own inner circle was a revolving door to the West. The program was a categorical success in turning human betrayal into a reliable, repeatable intelligence commodity that lasted throughout the Cold War. As far as technological and operational breakthroughs go, the defectors' debt resulted in breakthroughs that define modern security, such as legend synthesis software. The early manual methods of creating false identities for AECHAMP assets evolved into the digital identity generation tools used today by undercover officers. Psychological assimilation profiling. The agency's study into how defectors adapt to new cultures led to modern witness protection program protocols used by the Marshal Service. Portable secure environment kits. To protect assets in transit, the agency developed early SCIF technology, sensitive compartmented information facilities, that could be deployed inside a standard hotel room. And behavioral anomaly detection. Monitoring defectors for redefection signs led to the development of insider threat detection algorithms used in modern corporate and government cybersecurity. AECHAMP reminds us that the most valuable commodity in the Cold War wasn't uranium or gold, it was a man's loyalty. The defector's debt was never truly paid in cash. It was paid in the loss of one's past to secure a future. In the quiet suburbs of America, there are families who do not know their own names, living legacies of a program that turned betrayal into a science. The shadows are long, and the champagne has long since gone flat. We are the spectators of a game where the players have forgotten they were playing. The final price of the champ was always the truth itself. Thanks for listening, stay safe, and remember, a new life is just a new set of secrets. Join us next time as we examine peer emitter. I may be pronouncing this particular project incorrectly, but I believe it is peer emitter, Pyramider. In the final frontier of the 1970s, the agency looked to the stars to solve the problem of the silent asset. We'll uncover the secrets of Pyramider, the proposed but unbuilt global satellite system intended for clandestine communication with ground assets. It was a vision of the world where nowhere was out of reach. Join us next time for The Eye in the Dark. In the meantime, I'll see you in the archives.